Am I the idiot for confronting my partner about his corn addiction during a family birthday party? I guess where I'll start with this is that my partner and I have a child together that we conceived by accident. Before the baby, we were together for 2 years, and it was serious, but neither of us was really sure about forever together. I say this because I understand my mistake in falling for starting a family and making a lifelong commitment to someone with a tendency that I knew about before, but chose to ignore. My partner has a corn addiction. Before people have to say that I invade his privacy, he has given me permission to look at his phone whenever I want, because he has nothing to hide. Some of this I know because it's just on normal screens that are on often. More specific details I know because I wanted to know if I have to wait for a recharge. Period. And to see if he was actually doing this instead of helping me with our child. He has several apps he uses on his phone but also prefers his laptop. He has confessed to using it in the bathroom or in a work vehicle on the clock. He uses it inconspicuously while I am getting myself and our child ready in the room beside him. Seemingly, he uses it every time he is left home alone. He uses it while I am putting our child to bed. He uses it in the morning even though I need his help getting things ready. And that's just corn. All of his casual social media is full of thirst trap content. He is also addicted to TikTok and goes through at least one, usually more, intimacy account every day. Sometimes he even copies the username to look up unclothed pictures. After watching a movie together, he will look for unclothed pictures of the actress as well. In the past, I knew of this to a lesser degree, and it really didn't affect me as much. I just didn't think it was my business because we were just young people dating. He wasn't doing this while I needed his help with our child. He was doing it on the job, but now that my family relies on his job, I actually care that he doesn't get caught and fired. We didn't live together, so it wasn't happening while I was literally present. My point is, it affects me in many ways now, but most of all, my self-esteem. I have recently finished breastfeeding our child, and my breasts are deflated as hell, to say the least. I have lost all of the pregnancy weight, and I am right back to where I was pre-pregnancy, very thin, BMI 17. The relationship situation aside, my self-esteem is quite low these days as it is. But then you tack on the fact that he is watching larger body types all day, and it just unalives me. I am self-conscious about getting dressed and showering. I am self-conscious about cuddling. I am very, very self-conscious during intimacy. I can hardly enjoy it. Hell, I am self-conscious just existing around him. Here is the ringer. He tells me how attracted he is to me and how beautiful I am all the time. We have intimacy multiple times per week. He doesn't have a hard time finishing. He actually finishes too fast for my taste usually. He tells me the online stuff isn't real to him and has nothing to do with me, and honestly, I believe him. On top of all that, he is very affectionate, kind, caring, and he makes sure mine and our child's needs are taken care of. I have very clearly stated how all of this makes me feel, and of course, he thinks any infringement on his use is controlling. On one hand, I certainly agree. I think masturbation is normal, and I have no right to tell him not to, especially when we have an active intimacy life. On the other hand, risking being fired, or while he should be helping with the child, is just wrong to me. I have explained how this affects my comfort level with him, and he says he is sorry it makes me feel that way, and reiterates it has nothing to do with me. Even if I could set a boundary not to do this when I need help, and he actually followed through, I just don't know what to do about the self-esteem part of this. Because, as I said, it is not just masturbation. It is obsessively looking at women with bodies nothing like mine. Why is his reassurance and him obviously being attracted to me not enough? Every time he feels me up, I just think, I bet you wish there was more there, like the girl you just spent 20 minutes watching. This seems like a me problem that is being exacerbated by a him problem. After all the anguish with this between us over time, I don't have much hope he will improve his problem. I also have no clue how to fix my problem, because no matter how much I eat and exercise, I'll just never get the womanly curves that are glorified everywhere I look. What do you think would improve this situation? Aside from getting a breast augmentation, ending my relationship with my best friend, and breaking up my family over this shallow issue. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. If he's giving you as much or more attention than you need or want, and it's not impacting his contributions to your family or his work or anything, then you probably just need to communicate to him how it's bothering you and make him understand that you need for him to keep it more private. There are all kinds of weird hormonal things that happen with brand new first-time parents, though, and it's likely that in a year this will seem like it was nothing. But a year can be a long time, so communication is important. Comment 2. Coming from someone who was in a long-term relationship with a corn addict, just break up with him, please, for your own sake. I struggled with an eating disorder and body image issues as a result, and his issues affected our relationship so much. By the end, I barely recognized myself. I was a shell of the confident woman I used to be. It took 2 years of therapy to undo. Just save yourself further harm and leave. Now for the update. It's been a little over a month since my last post and things have gotten worse. My partner's addiction to corn continues to create issues in our relationship, to put it lightly. I noticed my partner spending more time online late at night, which made me suspicious. I know that people use the internet for many things, and I'm not naive to think he's never looked at anything inappropriate, but the amount of time he was spending on it during these late hours was alarming, especially given our situation. One evening, I found him on his phone while I was in the nursery with our child. I confronted him about it, and he dismissed my concerns, saying he needed his space. I know this space is something he created by isolating himself from me and our child, but apparently, I'm not allowed to have any space of my own. Things got really bad during a family birthday party for my sister. My sister invited the whole family, including my parents and my brother's family. It was a nice get-together where everyone was in good spirits and enjoying each other's company. During the party, I overheard my brother mentioning how he caught his wife watching a series that included adult themes. My brother laughed it off, but it made me realize how normal these conversations are. My brother didn't know the context of what he was saying, but I did. I wanted to discuss my situation with my family, but I hesitated. After the cake was served, I stepped outside for some fresh air. My partner followed me out and asked what was wrong. He got defensive and insisted that he had everything under control. Later, my mom pulled me aside to ask if everything was okay with us. I explained the ongoing issues but didn't go into details about the addiction. My mom offered support and suggested we all go on a family trip to clear our heads. I thought a change of scenery might help, so I agreed. We planned a weekend trip to a cabin by the lake, leaving the following Friday. The week leading up to the trip was filled with issues. My partner seemed distant. He was more concerned about his work than our family. On the drive to the cabin, he spent the entire time on his phone. I finally asked him to put it down and focus on our family. He reluctantly complied, but I could tell he was annoyed. Once we arrived, the family began to settle in and enjoy the surroundings. My partner and I shared a room, but he stayed up late on his laptop. I confronted him again, this time about his lack of interest in family activities. He argued that he needed downtime, but I felt abandoned. The next morning, my brother suggested a group hike, and everyone was excited except for my partner. He refused to join us, saying he'd rather relax at the cabin. During the hike, I shared my concerns with my sister, who listened intently. When we returned, my partner was in a bad mood and said he felt left out. I pointed out that he chose to isolate himself instead of spending time with family. The argument got worse and he stormed out of the cabin. My sister encouraged me to set firm boundaries regarding his behavior. That night, I decided to take a stand and told my partner I couldn't continue like this. I explained that I needed him to be present or we needed to reevaluate our relationship. He seemed surprised but didn't respond immediately. The next day, he apologized and promised to make changes. We spent the rest of the trip working on communication and reconnecting. A week later, he shared that he had sought help online for his addiction. I can't say I'm not nervous about this whole thing. It's been a rough journey, but we're trying to work through it together, and at least he's trying to get help. I just hope this isn't one of those empty promises and that he's actually serious about making changes. I want my family to be whole and happy, and I'm willing to fight for that. Anyway, let's see where this goes. Wish me luck. Edit. It's been a few weeks since my last update, and progress has been slow but steady. My partner has been attending online support groups and is more open to discussing his addiction. He acknowledges its impact on our relationship and is committed to rebuilding our connection. We've started couples counseling, which has helped us communicate better. My self-esteem is gradually improving as well. We're not perfect, but we're working on understanding and supporting each other through this journey. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for cutting off my alcoholic ex after he stole my credit card and stalked me? We've been dating for about a year. I really do love him and care about him, but he's a pretty intense alcoholic and constantly lies to me, especially about his drinking. I believe the straw that broke the camel's back was a couple of weeks ago when he literally took my card out of my wallet while I was in the shower, used it, and tried to lie to me about it when I was looking for it after the shower. He literally said, "Maybe you left it at the bar last night," knowing full well he used it not even an hour prior. This really upset me because he knows I absolutely do not mind paying for him as I have been while he's been financially struggling, yet he stole from me. Anyway, I decided to end it this Saturday. I have been thinking about it and wanting to do it for quite some time, but haven't really done it because he's a little reckless, and I was afraid he would do something stupid. Well, I went to a bar down the street that night, and he showed up completely intoxicated, barely able to stand. I was shocked, and the waitress and security guard were talking to him by the time I left. Apparently after that, he fell and hit his head, and they called an ambulance. His mom told me this. He's fine and everything. I did go visit him at the hospital the next morning. Apparently, the doctor said he's never seen alcohol levels this high before. His mom was in tears and everyone is really pushing for him to get help, including myself. But I made it clear that we are no longer in a relationship, that this is something he needs to do for himself and separate from me. He's been going through bouts of binge calling me since then, texting me. I didn't answer most, but I did answer a few calls because I felt bad and I'm worried. He keeps making promises of getting better, keeps asking to come over for cuddles and things, and every time we talk, he'll say he loves me and tries to force me to say it back. I kind of put my foot down when we talked earlier at noon, so I haven't heard from him since. I just feel so bad. I wish he wasn't hurting so much. I don't want him to do something foolish and risk losing his job. He just got promoted, but had to go to night shift for it. I'm very worried about him. But I've been feeling trapped in the relationship, and I can't do it any longer. I'm not really sure what advice I'm asking for. To add, thanks to everyone who responded. Sorry I didn't reply to anyone. This is a bit tough for me. It's unanimous that I should go no contact with him. I won't block him because in my state there needs to be evidence, like something needs to happen to be able to get a restraining order. I did completely stop responding to those who predicted he'll just show up at my apartment. Well, he did this morning when I was getting ready for work. He was sober though, thank God. I didn't let him in, gave him his stuff back so he has no excuse to come back, and told him once again it's over and to leave me alone, and if he does it again I will call the police. I just bought a Ring camera off Amazon and it should arrive later today. I signed my lease not too long ago, so I have a year on it. It would be super expensive to try and break it. He unfortunately knows where I work and live. I'm very scared. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. One of your first steps should be cutting off contact. He is your ex, and that necessarily means you cannot be the first line of emotional support for him anymore. He can whine about how sad he is to his own support system. This man stole from you and is a drunken fool. Cultivate some coldness towards him. Block him if you want, but you may want to keep the lines open but not respond, in case he starts to escalate when he can no longer cry on your shoulder. Evidence is helpful for dealing with drunken fools. Comment 2. You are not responsible for his choices. He is an adult man who makes his own decisions about his own behavior, and it has nothing to do with you. You cannot save him from himself, nor should you sacrifice yourself trying. Move on. Block him, Go out of town with some girlfriends or something. Don't go to places where he knows he can find you. If he chooses self-destruction, you have to understand that it's his choice and not your responsibility. Don't let his mother convince you otherwise. Block her too. Now for the update. 2 weeks after that whole mess, I guess I'm getting used to being on my own. It's a weird vibe, not being in constant chaos. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still feel like I'm on high alert all the time, but not dealing with my ex every day is a relief. My friends have been great too, just checking in on me and making sure I'm all right. Honestly, I don't think I'd be doing as well if it wasn't for them. I've been trying to focus on work and just getting back to some kind of normal. And by normal, I mean not feeling super stressed every second of the day. I stopped responding to my ex's calls and texts. At first I felt bad about it, like maybe he was really trying to get help or something, but then I realized, no. He was just trying to get me back, and I wasn't having any of it. A week ago, he sent me this long text saying he was in a support group and that he really wanted to get better. I didn't even read the whole thing, just skimmed it and moved on with my day. Work was busy, and I had other stuff to deal with. One morning, I found this note slipped under my door. It was from my ex, and it was asking to talk, like in person. He said he wanted to apologize for everything. Just reading that made me feel uneasy. But I locked my door and didn't think much about it. I didn't tell anyone about the note either. I didn't want to freak anyone out or make a big deal of something that maybe wasn't a big deal. Then, like a few days later, I noticed a strange car parked outside my apartment. It was just sitting there for hours. It was there a couple more times throughout the week, and that's when I started getting a little worried. I took a picture of the license plate just in case, but I didn't think much else of it. Last week, I was getting groceries and ran into my ex at the store. He approached me while I was in the checkout line and started chatting like we were old pals. He looked sober and tried to engage me in some small talk, asking about work and random stuff. I just calmly told him to leave me alone. He got all defensive, saying I didn't understand him and that he was making real changes. I didn't want a scene in the store or anything, so I just quickly left and got out of there. The next day, I thought it was time to switch things up. I had been going to that same grocery store for a while, and maybe it was time for a change. So I tried a different one. While I was shopping, I bumped into my friend Sarah. I hadn't seen her in a while, so it was nice to catch up. She invited me to a small gathering at her house that weekend, and I was all in for that. At the gathering, I noticed my ex's friend was there. He brought up my ex, saying he was struggling but was trying to get better. This made me uncomfortable because I didn't want to talk about him. I brushed it off and changed the subject. The following week, I got a text from my ex's friend about a party he was having. He said my ex would be there and that I should come. I didn't want to go anywhere near him, so I declined the invitation. Later that week, I got an unexpected package at my door. It was a bottle of wine and a note from my ex saying he missed me. The note was all sappy, but I didn't even read it all. I just threw the bottle away. The next day, I saw that same strange car parked outside again. This time, I called a friend to keep me company for a bit. My friend noticed how weird the situation was. We decided to go out for dinner to get our minds off stuff. As we were leaving the restaurant, we spotted my ex outside. He approached us, looking all disheveled and desperate. He tried to plead his case, saying he had changed and that I should give him another chance. I firmly told him to leave us alone or I would call someone. He stepped back, looking shocked. The following week, I got a call from my landlord about my ex. She mentioned he had been seen around the building multiple times and that she was concerned. I started documenting everything, just in case I needed it later. I also contacted a locksmith to discuss changing my locks. I didn't want to take any chances. Thank you for reading. To answer a few questions, my ex's friend didn't know how bad things were between us. When he mentioned the party, he thought I would be okay with it since he believed my ex was improving. I didn't feel comfortable mentioning the strange car to my friend when she visited. It seemed minor at the time. I haven't shown any of my friends the note or the text from my ex, because I didn't want them to worry unnecessarily. After the grocery store incident, I considered changing my shopping habits to stay safe. Now, I'm focusing on getting my locks changed.